light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. Join award-winning host Dale Davidson as he interviews the most remarkable people you'll find in the entertainment capital of the world. You'll meet entertainers, sports figures, newsmakers, community and business leaders, and people just like you with stories that'll touch your heart. Now, here's Dale Davidson.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Each and every episode of this program, we try to bring you fascinating guests, often from Las Vegas. Well, we've outdone ourselves on both counts. Dave Sussman is with us today, the famous, the wonderful, the fascinating Dave Sussman. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dale. Appreciate you having me.
Live up to that, pal. I'm really glad to have you. Yeah,
thank you.
You got a great show going on, and was Whiskey Politics is what it was called.
Yep.
And that reminds me of Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they would get together after calling each other names all day long.
Yep.
They'd get together at night, sip a little whiskey, bourbon and branch water, and make the country run.
That's why we named the show that.
Is that right?
Yeah, it came around in the election of 2016, and it was so divisive. And we think of our politics right now as divisive. It's been going, we've always been divided.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And if I want to sit down with a friend who is a progressive or a Democrat or whatever they want to call themselves anymore, you know, we need to sit down and not that you have to drink to get along with somebody, but it was the whole idea where you just sit down.
Little sipping bourbon or
and just have a discussion.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that anymore.
I know.
We're yelling and screaming, and it's so just negative. It's cancerous.
Yeah, you know, and I've been involved in politics. I don't do it anymore, but professional, you know, media consultant type politics. For years and years, worked on 16 campaigns. And we always, you know, the operatives always got along. You know, we just had different talent, you know, that we were promoting at the time, as we used to call them talent. Go get the talent and tell them to shut up, or whatever it was. And actually the candidates seem to get along.
Yeah.
But we like hate each other's guts now.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Well, here's the thing, and this is a little bit of inside knowledge for your viewers. When you speak to the candidates and you speak to the politicians, actually in D.C., a lot of what they do is for the camera. It's for their base.
Yeah.
So I met Senator Klobuchar from Minnesota, okay? And this was, you know, she was on the dais for the Kavanaugh hearings.
Right, and I remember. And she was mean,
just
too, by the
brutal,
way.
and the level of histrionics and hatred, and this man he gang raped. I mean, you know, you got a good Christian man standing up there with his wife and his family, and you know, you've got these incredible stories that are coming out of left field from Michael Navenati, of all people.
Yeah, really.
And Klobuchar is taking that and running with it and making this man appear to be the caricature of what they wanted to make because of their political lens.
Right, yeah.
But I met her and she said, no, you know, Lindsey Graham and I are good friends. We get along really well. And you remember him, he was pointing his finger, you know, screaming at them on the dais.
That's right. Yeah.
So a lot of it is theater, Dale.
Yeah. Let's talk about how we take it as Americans, okay? We understand we were talking about talent, right? And they're on camera and they're doing the thing that they're going to do and appeal to their base. But we're believing it as Americans, right? And families are getting destroyed by this, or, you know, cousins are not talking to each other. Sometimes brothers and sisters and maybe even spouses are not getting along. What do we do to bring some sense of civility back into this game, which is really what it is, you know?
I think it's the number one question of our time right now.
Do you really? Yeah.
Because for those folks that are following politics as closely as probably you and I do, which is close.
Yes.
Okay, we live it and we breathe it. We read it every single day. We love it. Okay. And for me, I always say this. I think, you know, the quadrennial election, the presidential election, for me is the Super Bowl, the Stanley Cup, the World Series. It's all wrapped up in one.
Yeah, it's so great.
Right.
Yeah, it's so great.
But the problem is that when you are focused on the negativity, you also have to remember that while you and I could see through the transparency of the politics, okay, we know the real issues, we know the real story.
Yes.
A lot of our friends and family and neighbors and colleagues, co-workers, they get a snippet of it. And the snippet that they get is just enough for them to form an opinion without having a real basis.
Any facts.
Or any facts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and so it's about, not that I need to educate people because nobody wants to be taught, but when I'm having a discussion, I'll ask them questions. Along the lines of, pick an issue right now, this thing with today's outrage of the day is the squad, the squad, right? The Alexandria occasional cortex, the Ilhan Omar, right? You like that one?
I like that one. That's good.
I heard it. I didn't make that up, folks. I heard
It's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Okay. And so, whoa, Trump is racist. Trump is racist. What he said was, well, let's actually take a look at the tweet. Not that I'm going to stand up for the tweet. I call it an unforced error on my show.
Yeah.
Said he should have done it because if you go back to 3 years ago, last Friday, feels like 3 years ago in news cycle, you go to Friday, and what were we talking about? We were talking about the division between House Majority Leader Pelosi. And AOC, occasional cortex, okay? And that was what everybody was talking about on the weekend.
Right, yeah.
And then Trump tweets something, and the immediate, you hear the record scratch moment.
Yeah.
And now the media can go out with their Trump is racist thing. And my mother, God bless her, she's elderly, but she says, oh, I don't, I'm from England, so she's British. It's Monty Python, folks. Think of Monty Python. I just don't understand, And why would he say this? And I really don't like it, and,
Right.
And I say, but what did he say? Take a look at the tweet. He didn't point people out specifically, and he certainly didn't refer to their race or their gender.
Yeah.
But they want to take that
and only one
use
came
that.
from another country.
So
right?
you have this discussion, right? Only one of them came from another country. So you have discussion, say, okay, exactly what did he say? And by the way, let's take a look at Ilhan Omar.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
You commented on my Israel-American flag.
Yeah.
She's one of the most anti-Semitic things I've ever seen in the history of the United States in mainstream politics.
Oh, yes, yeah.
We don't see that.
Yeah.
And they're apologizing for her. Let's talk about the fact that she's pushing for BDS, the boycott, divest, sanction movement for Israel.
Yeah.
Where is that being discussed?
Yeah.
And are you allowed, Dale, am I allowed to be critical of somebody because if they're a woman of color, I'm no longer allowed to say I disagree with her because if I do, I'm now going to be branded a racist?
That's right.
That's what we need to explain.
Yeah, or if you say anything about Islam, you are a religious bigot.
Islamophobe.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's so odd.
So, and you have that discussion with my mother or whoever it is that we're having. It should be like, yeah, you're right, but I just don't like the way that. I don't like his tweets either sometimes, Mom. But let's take a look at the actual issue.
Yeah. What he actually said and what his intent was.
Right.
And as you say, I agree. Unforced error. Baseball metaphor, love it. I think that's indeed the case. However, let's look at tweets in general and why he does that. Let's talk about that for 1 second. I think this guy is one of the masters of misdirection. Yeah. This is just my attitude on this. This is like, you think any kind of magician is really good at this, but he is like, okay, here's what I'm going to tell you now, and it's really going to bother you, but over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk. And I'm not, is it the fact that he is that narcissistic? That's why he does it? Or do you think he's doing this?
Listen, I think that's one of the great unknowns right now for us. Is he Svengali? Okay. Is he a troll on the internet? Is he just so narcissistic he doesn't realize, and he's like a blind squirrel finding his nut, that it actually turns out beneficial to him, even though he said something that you and I would both agree, I wouldn't have done that, okay?
I don't think I would have said that out loud.
No, not every thought is a diamond, President Trump, and I love you. I love your policies, but ixnay on the 3 a.m. tweet-a-a's, okay? I don't know, Dale. Listen, I think there's a lot more of us that will say openly, and I'll be upfront, okay? I was very critical in the 2016 campaign.
Were you?
I was a Rubio Fiorina guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In my mind, I thought Trump wasn't going to, as soon as he said the thing about John McCain, I wouldn't have gotten caught or something, right? Whatever it was he said.
I like people that weren't.
Right. As soon as he said that, I was like, It's done. That was fun. Thanks for the memories. Let's get focused on. It's probably going to end up being Jeb. Ugh.
Yeah.
But I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was
he totally recovered from that and everything else that he said.
Yeah. And so I voted for him like so many conservatives did because he wasn't her. Yeah. Okay, and it has nothing to do with her gender, folks. All right, nothing to do with her gender.
You bigot.
No, but no, if Condoleezza Rice was on there, or Haley, what's her name? It will come to me in a few seconds. I would vote for both of them. Okay, it's nothing to do with their plumbing.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah,
so when I say it wasn't her, but it wasn't her. Could you imagine Hillary today? Could you imagine the Supreme Court, the judicial appointments, having an AOC and the rest of them, and being able to just carte blanche do what they want?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
So I take a look at the judicial. I take a look at the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
I take a look at not just today, but for 30 years, what that means to this country.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
that was crucial.
And a lot of people will say he was, he's God-given. He was a miracle because we needed it at the time.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a part of me that believes that, because when he does his speeches at what was the most recent one? The D-Day anniversary.
Oh, yes.
Okay, in Normandy.
Right.
Or the State of the Union speech earlier this year.
Yeah.
The man is incredible as a president when he's presidential.
Yeah, right. He can be.
He can be.
Yeah.
And he's passing the policies that I think anybody right of center, libertarian, conservative, Republican, whatever you want to call yourself, I think we all agree with. And we know for a moment that nobody on the left would have done this.
No, none of it.
So, you take the good and you kind of try to ignore the bad and be a little bit critical when you have to be. But holy cow, I think, we're very, very happy with this.
Yeah, it's really interesting you mentioned, was he anointed? Was he picked? Was he chosen? But in the world of evangelical Christians and Jews as well, he is Cyrus.
Yep.
Right? Isaiah 45. And here he is, the 45th president. But it was the whole thing. Can God work through anybody? Let's say that's the case, because he's certainly anybody. And he's making it happen.
He is making it happen. And I don't think any of us realized to the level and the extent that he was going to make it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have bet $10 he wasn't going to go with the Federalist suggestions for judicial nominees.
No, he was going to appoint his sister or something. Was
right?
Happen.
Yeah. Or like George W. Bush's cleaning lady. What was her name? Harriet Myers. We were all like, oh, what are you doing, Georgie? Come on, man. We got Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That's their weekend at Bernie's her right now. She's being propped up, right?
Is she alive? That was the big question there for a while.
Is she alive? And so, that's going to be the next fight. We had Molly Hemingway and Carrie Saravino, who just wrote the book, The Justice on the Kavanaugh hearings. It just came out. It's everywhere right now. And had them on my show last week. And, we talked about it. I said, what's going to be like in the future? They're like, it's pretty much going to be Armageddon, because they are going, if you thought Kavanaugh was bad. Kavanaugh was replacing, what was it, Justice Kennedy, who was a swing vote.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
And so the next one that goes, if it's likely it's going to be Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it's now a likely conservative vote replacing a liberal vote.
Yes, it's going to be hell.
It's going to be brutal. Brutal.
Yeah. And you wonder, of course, he would never do this because he relishes a fight. Yeah. But, 2 words, David Souter.
Yes.
Right?
George H.W. Bush's pick.
It was just like, okay, can I get anybody approved here?
Well, a lot of people are wondering now about Justice Roberts.
That's interesting,
Because,
he's not 100%.
We've been saddled with Obamacare because of him. He decided he wanted to call it a tax.
Yeah. I know.
And that was a George W. Bush appointment.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So, they say justices move to the left when they take their seat.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think maybe that's the case. And we've seen it, going back to the 60s, to the 50s even.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got to
John Paul, what's his name? Jones has just died this week, 99 years old.
Yeah.
He was extremely liberal.
Yeah.
Stevens, thank you.
Yeah, John Paul Stevens.
Yes. He was extremely liberal.
Yeah, and it's funny how that all happens, It's just astonishing. What about Pence? What do you think about Mike Pence?
I like Mike.
So do I.
I like him. I think he's vanilla. He doesn't create any waves.
He's in the role of VP. He might turn out to be a leader. He could be president.
He could be. I don't know. I mean, he's obviously he will have the evangelical vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Goes
Very
without
strong
saying.
Christian.
Yeah.
And I love his morals and I love his moral stance. You know, they all made fun of him. I actually wrote an article about this. They all made fun of him a year or so ago when he said that I will not have dinner alone with a woman, business relationship or anything like this. I will not do it. And everybody
Billy
was
Graham
like,
rule.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And everybody made fun of him. And now with the Me Too and everything else that's been happening, and you know, you're now hearing more and more people on the left saying that as well.
Yeah. Prop the door open.
Right.
You know, you could be accused of anything. Yeah, let's talk about the Me Too movement and what it's meant to American politics and civility and society and all that. Right after this break. We'll be back with Dave Sussman right after this.
Dale Davidson and the team at Las Vegas Tonight firmly believe that the only solution to today's serious problems is the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. Dale carefully selects his guests on the show, making sure that their dedication to our Lord is heartfelt and genuine, and that their ministries are making a strong and positive difference in the world. Dale doesn't charge anyone to be on Las Vegas Tonight. The cost to produce and air the programs are covered by donations from our ministry's partners. We thank you so much for your financial support, and most of all for your prayers. Please consider becoming a partner of Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries for just $40 per month. For a little more than $1 a day, you'll be helping us bring the good news of Jesus Christ to millions of people around the world. The television networks that broadcast the program reach from coast to coast in the United States, and through internet apps cover the entire world. Your $40 monthly contribution entitles you to Dale's newsletter that gives you a behind-the-scenes look at the production of Las Vegas Tonight and inside information on the exciting guests Dale interviews on every episode. You'll also receive a copy of Dale's book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints, an in-depth look at 10 of Dale's most intriguing guests, plus a very personal story of how Dale came to Christ and the challenges he faces in bringing the good news to the world. Become a partner of our ministry today by going to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries website and clicking on the donate button, or by emailing Dale at dale@lasvegastonight.tv, or you can write him at Dale Davidson, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. Thank you for watching Las Vegas Tonight, and may God bless you abundantly.
The Lord has made it possible for our show, Las Vegas Tonight, to thrive. We've produced well over 300 episodes telling the remarkable stories of Christians who have set out to change the world for the better. It's my honor to lead this ministry. As the founder of Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries, I'm commanded to be a good steward of all the donations our partners have so generously provided to us. As you can imagine, it takes a great deal of money to keep this program on the air in the United States and around the world. Please prayerfully consider making a one-time donation or becoming a monthly partner of Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries. Just go to vegassaints.org and select Make a Donation, or send your check or money order made out to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For more information, call 702-480-3989. Thank you, and God bless you. Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. Fascinating conversation with a fascinating guy, Dave Sussman, who has his own show, which is now called The Dave Sussman Show.
And you can still find it at Whiskey Politics.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Just look up it everywhere. It's all over the place. America's Voice News and Ricochet. Ricochet's a great site. And,
that's
all sorts
nice.
if you're not in any of those, you can find us on YouTube.
Yeah.
And
you know, all I can say about media, and I'm an old guy, is everything has changed. You know, and you are now one of 500 choices.
Yep.
And there used to be 4. and there was Walter Cronkite, but that's why.
Right.
There was only 3 or 4, stations in the market, and
Right.
God, we have to be really good now.
Yeah.
We have
Well,
to
my son is actually studying journalism, and he's going to the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism.
Yes, that's a good school.
It's
by
a
the
very
way.
good school.
Yeah.
It's considered the quote-unquote Yale of journalism, so I've been
Yeah.
told. And it's not NYU.
I know.
So they're not
Yeah.
going to hit
That's
him
a
over
good
the head
thing.
with their politics. In
Yeah.
fact, it's one of the, I think it was the number 1 or the number 2 non-political school in the country.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
interesting. Yeah, I, going way back to the dark ages, I knew I wanted to be in television. I knew I wanted to be in journalism. I wanted to go to one of the following 3 schools: Syracuse, where your son wanted to go,
Yep.
University of Miami, or the University of Denver. Why? Because all 3 had the only completely student-run television operations
Yeah.
in the late 60s,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's how old I am. And I only got in the University of Denver, so
Okay.
that's why I went there. But it was a great education, and I learned a lot. And I think about my professors now. The head of the department at the time was former head of CBS News, who they brought in and handed him a PhD and said, "Would you teach these kids how to do this?"
Wow.
And it was great. One of Yankelowitsch's co-founders was head of the research media research department. We had a great school going on, right?
Yeah.
But honest to goodness, Dave, we talked about objectivity and the importance of it, and making a distinction between the opinion pages, as it was called then, no matter what the format was, and the news columns, right? It's totally gone. And I think about them spinning in their graves today.
It's really, it really is sad what's happened. And you talk about media research. From the Media Research Center, we had Brent Bozell.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure your viewers know who he is. And you have Brent Bozells out there now because you have to, because there's so much bias.
Yeah.
And you get outside of the echo chambers of the Upper West Side of New York or Los Angeles or many of the great cities of the country where people are in a liberal echo chamber and they don't know anybody that votes conservative.
I know.
Maybe their crazy uncle who's on Facebook that's, posting memes every day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But we all have one.
Yes.
Okay.
I might be that one, now that I think about it.
That's why we have separate pages for my personal page, the Dave Sussman Show on Facebook and Whiskey Politics. We could be political there. But but the thing is that it is, when you hear the news, so go back to what we were talking about in your last segment with Trump's tweets.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't subscribe to any satellite or cable TV now. I have Roku. I've cut the cord 6 years ago. Watch great stations. I find you, good programming on there. So I can get local news through a couple of the apps. CBS News, for example, has a local app there. And the turn immediately from the local news broadcasters who are basically just reading copy.
Right.
It should be news, weather, news, weather, news. Okay, that's basically what local news is.
Yeah.
All right.
Sports
and,
at the end,
and a couple
maybe.
of happy stories of puppies at the end. Right. And it was so just aggressively anti-Trump.
Yeah.
And it was a matter of fact that it was racist. This is local news. So going back to what you were talking about, where people don't get that much information, when they're not following politics like you and I are, they get 30-second snippet at the end of the day after watching The Bachelor and falling asleep with the news on.
Right.
And this is what they hear.
Yeah.
So it
And they
really
make
has
assumptions.
changed.
Yeah. And it is part of our duty, even though we are, well, we're not exactly as commentators. We are commentators, so we're not providing, unfiltered news. But still, we're better than they are.
I'd like to think so.
I mean, it's disturbing.
Yeah.
It's truly disturbing. And you're right. The coasts, and it's just so insulting to me that I live in flyover country. You're on the blue coast now.
Yeah.
You chose to be there.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I got phone calls after the election, right, from my dear niece's husband, right, who is an atheist philosophy professor at a Catholic university. I don't know why they hired him.
Wait a minute, what?
Yeah, I know. And I hope he doesn't watch this one. But we got involved in just back and forth, not uncivil, but it was like. How could you vote for that man?
Yeah.
and he lives in New York, and it was like, please explain to me why someone who is seemingly intelligent like you could vote for this beast, And so we had, long conversations until it got too personal, and we just reverted back to how are the kids.
The problem is, and we've all lost friends, especially social media friends, right? And I can't keep track of the people that I just see my numbers go up and down. I don't even look. I don't care. But you try to have civil discourse with people because, like you, I like to think of myself as somebody that is civil and ethical and moral. I'm a good father. My kids are everything first and foremost, provide and then have your passion doing what we do here to try to pull it all apart and put it back together so it isn't so divided. Because here's, Dale, my belief is this. I believe we all want the same thing.
Yes.
We don't want polluted air.
Right, sure.
Okay? We want safe streets. We want a defense and a military that's going to be ready to go to war. God forbid you have a crazy, situation. We want good schools. We want to be comfortable, but it's the means to the ends.
Right. Yeah.
So
what actually affects that?
Right.
Yeah,
so the divide comes to between. This is really kind of what it is. Do you believe in a centralized government where you have elected and unelected people that are going to make decisions for you and how to run your life? Where if you're on the left coast, that you've got some bureaucrat 3,000 miles away deciding on exactly what prescription drugs you should have as part of their healthcare law. Okay, and you go down that, right? Or do you believe in the free market? Do you believe in capitalism? Do you believe in free enterprise? Do you believe in competition? Which I'm an economics guy, economics guy, and so this is the divide.
Right.
I want local control over my schools.
Right. Sure.
Okay. I want local control over my city. The blue city governance around this country, where you've got homelessness and drugs and people defecating in the streets. And every single one of those cities, a Democrat run for the last 80 years or less or more. Right? And so it's a centralized government. And their answer is, well, we need more money. We need more bureaucrats. And that's where but it's not that we want the same things, different things. We want the same things.
Where does opportunity lie? That's part of it. And when you're thinking about your kids and what opportunities they're going to have in the future, where truly does it lie within the capitalistic system? Of course.
Yes.
A planned economy, that worked really well in Russia. It's working great in Venezuela. And yet kids are saying,
everywhere else.
Socialism, we want free education. Well, free would be nice. I wish I didn't have to write the checks that I wrote, and you're about to write them. But hey, we live in a constitutional republic, and hopefully something good's going to come of this.
Is our economy and equity and everything, is it perfect? No.
Never will be.
It will never will be, because you have the human quotient. Okay, you have to have the human element, the factor where there are going to be some disparities, there are going to be some things. And guess what? By the way, life isn't fair. Why?
Nobody ever guaranteed this.
I mean, I've got people very, very close to me in my life. My kid's mom, she's been dealing with cancer for the past 10 years. And it continues, and it continues to come back, and more surgery. Why? Okay? It's just luck of the draw. All right? So, if you go around to bemoan everything that happens in your life because of, bad luck, or you deal with it and you have to fight and you get it back up again, or are you going to find blame? Are you going to try and blame somebody else? And a lot of what you're talking about, the idea of socialism for the kids, is that, well, I'm a victim because they've been handed down this victim identity politics, victimology.
It's terrible.
So the reason that I didn't get into Syracuse, I got into Denver, but I didn't get to Syracuse, is because I'm African American, or because I'm poor, or because of this, or because of that, or maybe it's because you
didn't get the grades.
You didn't get the grades.
That's right.
Right?
Which is the case in my case.
Whatever it may be.
Okay.
So we're not teaching our kids. When I say we, I think as parents we try to, but I'm saying as a society and our culture, we're not teaching our kids to take ownership of their own lives. And you know what? The one person I respect more than anybody else in the world is the one that gets back up.
Yes.
And if we teach our kids that, because you're going to be knocked down, kiddo.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be knocked down a few times. Some of them are going to be really, really hard to get back from.
Yeah.
It may take you a decade.
Easily, yeah.
We've all been there.
Yes.
You've gone through divorce, you've gone through health, you've gone through this, you've gone through that.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah,
it's
it
called
does.
life.
Yeah.
Well, the socialists they want to take that element out of it.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to do.
Yeah. You can't, smooth off all the rough edges, period.
Right.
It's not happening. There are bright spots. I interviewed a young man yesterday. It's very encouraging to me. His parents were from Haiti. He grew up in the poorest county in Florida, right?
Okay. Okeechobee?
It might have been. Yeah, it might have been, yeah. His father and mother were both agricultural workers, They went out and worked in the fields. His parents said to him day in and day out as they came back long after dark, exhausted, this is the land of opportunity. Mm-hmm. It is not the land of outcomes.
Yes.
Okay? You're going to get a wonderful opportunity. I just know it.
Right.
Right? Make the most of it.
Yeah.
Okay? Maybe it's because he went through that experience. Probably undoubtedly is. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because he was an immigrant, right? Mm-hmm. But he's not a snowflake, right?
Right.
Went to college, went to UNLV, played football, and now he is a community organizer for freedom, the Libertarian Party, whatever he is, preaching this to other kids, right? So I was very encouraged to see it. Obviously, there are bright spots, but we have coddled these kids unbelievably, and it's really our fault in the sense that we didn't want them to have a tough time if we could possibly help it. But like you said, they're gonna, right? They're gonna have a hard time.
Our job as parents is to prepare them to handle the tough times.
Yes.
To help them build themselves a backbone, not this beta male soy milk pajama wearing, let's talk hot chocolate with insurance for Medicare, or what is it called, Obamacare. This is the last 8 years that we've dealt with in this country before Donald Trump came back, who is an alpha male.
Yeah.
But listen, you gotta understand, Constitution, 1776.
Right.
Okay, there was no guarantee of anything in that document.
No.
It said that you had the right to the opportunity.
Right.
Okay, you want to achieve. You have to. You're given the right to take it. You've got to make that effort.
Right. That's right. That's right. And you can become a zillionaire.
Yes.
If you work hard enough and you're smart enough and you get some good breaks.
Yeah.
Right.
And good breaks and lucky breaks happens to a lot of great people.
Yeah.
A lot of bad breaks happens to people as well.
Sure.
Again, you can't take that out. You can't legislate that out of the equation.
No.
It's impossible.
No. It really is impossible.
Yeah.
We're going to take another brief break. When we come back, Dave Sussman is going to solve all the problems of America. He promised me he would do that.
I got the secret.
We'll be back right after these messages.
That's about
Dale Davidson and the team at Las Vegas Tonight firmly believe that the only solution to today's serious problems is the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. Dale carefully selects his guests on the show, making sure that their dedication to our Lord is heartfelt and genuine, and that their ministries are making a strong and positive difference in the world. Dale doesn't charge anyone to be on Las Vegas Tonight. The cost to produce and air the programs are covered by donations from our ministry's partners. We thank you so much for your financial support, and most of all for your prayers. Please consider becoming a partner of Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries for just $40 per month. For a little more than $1 a day, you'll be helping us bring the good news of Jesus Christ to millions of people around the world. The television networks that broadcast the program reach from coast to coast in the United States, and through internet apps cover the entire world. Your $40 monthly contribution entitles you to Dale's newsletter that gives you a behind-the-scenes look at the production of Las Vegas Tonight and inside information on the exciting guests Dale interviews on every episode. You'll also receive a copy of Dale's book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints, an in-depth look at 10 of Dale's most intriguing guests, plus a very personal story of how Dale came to Christ and the challenges he faces in bringing the good news to the world. Become a partner of our ministry today by going to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries website and clicking on the donate button, or by emailing Dale at dale@lasvegastonight.tv. Or you can write him at Dale Davidson, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. Thank you for watching Las Vegas Tonight, and may God bless you abundantly.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. As promised, Dave Sussman did not run out during the break, even though I promised he would solve all of America's problems in the next 15 minutes. So, Dave.
No pressure. Oh boy! You know what?
I'm just.
I'll go back to what is like a 1990 movie with Billy Crystal. What was it called? City Slickers.
That was a great movie.
I'll go to the Jack Palance answer. One thing. We never knew what it was.
That's right.
I'm going to leave it with you.
Because he died, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I think that's what it was. This one thing, or going even back before that, plastics.
Yeah.
Remember that? That's the answer. You know, if we had more plastics,
yeah,
we wouldn't have to worry about our oceans.
You were just telling me about this Catholic university in California, the media, and that's fascinating. I went to a Catholic school in England.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And because I was born and raised in England, and no matter what your religion, if you're Christian, Catholic, Jewish, whatever, you end up going to a Catholic school in England because you don't go to the term schools, the state schools, the run schools by the state.
They're terrible, huh?
So yeah, I went to Mass and I did all of this, and it was, you know, and I think, you know, this is in the early 70s, not to age myself or anything, but you know, I looked like, you know, the lead singer from AC/DC. I had the cap and the shorts and the tie and the, you know, the whole thing.
Right, yeah.
And but it was something that I respected so much, and I find so many of the best people in my life, you know, they have a moral compass. They're religious. They believe in God. They believe in a higher power within themselves, for their family, for their community. And so thank you for what you're doing, Dale.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it very much. You know, I think that's part of it. That's really part of it. And you know, beginning in 1962, when they took the Ten Commandments out of the classroom and said you can't pray anymore, and then, you know, after that, whatever you do, don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. You know, I think that actually has an impact. I mean, it's kind of a cliche, but not every kid grew up in a family that had those kind of values, right? I mean, think of your friends, you know, kind of raggedy kids, you know, who maybe had a bad thing going on at home. You know, how many dysfunctional families are there in America, right?
Right.
And
a lot
of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, yet they heard about some kind of moral grounding going on even at public school.
Yeah.
And now it is so discouraged.
Yeah.
You know, and part of that is teachers' colleges, where it's saying, do not take a stand morally on anything. Everything is relative.
I got to tell you something. I met somebody last night. I'm not going to mention her name because I don't want to embarrass her, but met her for the first time last night. This remarkable young woman. She's not a girl, but she's probably in her early 20s. Beautiful. We were starting to talk. She was sitting with a group of friends of ours, and I asked her, I said, what do you do? And she says, well, I'm here for pro-Trump, Trump 2020 committee for Virginia, and she's doing all of this work. Right. And I said, how did you get involved in that? She said, I was addicted to heroin.
Yeah.
And I was a mule. I think she used the word mule for the Mexican drug cartel for years. I said, you were involved in the Mexican drug cartel doing heroin? She goes, yeah. She goes, it's not that bad because they protect you if they like you. Those are who you want to protect you. Oh my Lord. And I'm looking at her and I said, how did you end up here at a political convention? And she says, well, I was addicted to drugs. I was shooting up in heroin, and I could have gone one direction or another. Now I'm an evangelical Christian. And I decided to change my life, and I went back to the church. And I stood up and I just, how many stories do you hear of people that have just, you know, they end up dead or murdered, or, you know, and so the power of that.
What a great story that
It was incredible. And she's here. She's walking around amongst us here, and I don't want to embarrass her.
We wouldn't know,
Yeah.
I went to night school in the early 2000s here in Vegas when I decided, I'm really going to be a religious man. and I went to seminary, right? And I'm taking these night classes, same thing, and I'm taking a preaching class, okay? And there's this young woman, same thing, beautiful young gal, and she's in my class, and she's well-spoken and things, you know. And I'm just telling you the same story over again, sort of, but I got up and used her as an example of someone who works very hard, you know, at her faith, because she's a pastor's wife. She is the head of the women's program at the church. She heads up the Sunday school, right? She has 3 kids, right? And she's doing all of this. And I'm using her as an example of somebody that's really kind of overdoing it.
Right.
You know, but the idea being, you know, what a wonderful person. And then she, you know, thanks me in one of my little, you know, sermons. I used her as an illustration. And then, I think it was the same session, it might have been the next class, she got up and gave her speech, which was her testimony, which was, I used to be a call girl in Las Vegas. And then when I really got into drugs, I was a streetwalker. And then I was, you know, and I'm looking at her saying, you know, if faith doesn't have some kind of impact on people, what is that? You know, because you find the strength somehow.
Right.
And if you got nothing inside, it's got to be coming from the outside somewhere.
I'm Jewish. I raised my kids religiously. We're not Orthodox, but both my kids have been bar mitzvahed. For me, being raised the way that I was raised, for me, it's about family coming together. No matter what you're doing on the Sabbath, no matter what you're doing, wherever you are, everybody's got their own thing. You must be home at this hour.
Yes, right.
And it was my father, World War II generation, London, England. He's passed now 10 years next week, in fact. Very strict. Very strict, old school. We got the belt when I was a kid. I mean, you know, you can't do that nowadays, okay? My grandfather was a prisoner of Nazi-occupied France for 4 years.
Wow.
He was an RAF fighter, shot down over France and a prisoner of war and in this camp. And afterwards, he came out, and he literally took incoming from a tank, and he ended up in hospital for 8 months, burned alive. And so he died at a very young age of 57. So those lessons I'm passing on to my boys.
Right.
You know, and it is,
for you.
And it's about having motivation and goals and ethics and morality and understanding not just where you're going, but where you've come from.
Yes.
And we all
Personal
serve
history.
the same God.
Yes.
And I believe Judeo-Christian values is the bedrock of this country.
Yes.
And we need more of it. And it unfortunately, the powers that are out there, especially leftist powers, want to take it away. They want some godless society, and I think that's Armageddon. That's apocalyptic.
Yes.
Because if you don't have a moral compass, you're done for as a society.
And it's world destroying. I mean, we've seen pockets of it, right? I mean, look at the apocalypse that have taken place. I mean, you know, how National Socialism, the Nazi Party.
Right.
How well did that work? That was atheistic. You know, how about communism? Same thing, you know. You find it everywhere, and every time you find it, where the left wins, people die. I mean, let's call it what it is.
It's really sad, and it's frustrating. And I'm frustrated, and I'll just share this with you because I know that a lot of your viewers are very religious. I'm frustrated as a Jew. And I'll tell you why. I'm a conservative Jew. Okay? There's not a lot of us.
I know.
It's 20-30%.
I know.
And
I don't get it.
And I'm a huge advocate of Israel. Been many times. I know Christians. It's really important. It's the Holy Land for Christians and Jews. Okay. And there's more Christians that support Israel than there are Jews. And I'm not talking about
in every way, by the way.
In every way. Okay. And it's one of my biggest frustrations. And this is something that I have guests on all the time that talks about this. Rabbi Shmuley, I don't know if you know who he is.
I know,
Okay,
Sammy.
Rabbi, right?
Wonderful. He's
human
my buddy.
being.
He's my buddy.
He was on my show last month.
Oh, he's a great guy.
We talked about it, and he said something. I don't know if you heard of this. It floored me. He said, God is dead in Europe.
I've heard this.
Rabbi? What do you mean, Rabbi? God is dead? He says, 6% of Europeans go to church on a regular basis.
Wow. I didn't know it was that small.
Not 60 or 16.
6. Wow.
% of Europeans go to church on a regular basis. God is dead in Europe. It's taken out of everything. And guess what's happening in the United States? The seeping primordial Marxist ooze of Europe is moving over the Atlantic Ocean into the United States, especially with the leftist socialist, and this is what we have to fight.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I've seen it, I've heard about it, I've met some, believe it or not, we have some American evangelists that are sort of starting all over in places like France and England. Starting over. Yeah. And that's where it came from.
Right.
There
was a big controversy whether or not they want to rebuild Notre Dame as a cathedral. Should it be some kind of museum?
That's right. Churches are tattoo parlors and bars.
Right.
I don't get it. I went to this is how I feel about Israel, and I had a great guest I got to pass on to you so you can have her on. But she puts all of the, she calls it Jew hatred, not anti-Semitism. Yeah. I mean, she is a Jew herself.
Well, that's Ilhan Omar.
Yeah, that's right. The whole thing is about this, and then
she Tlaib.
Yeah, not just the fact that it's a geopolitical, any of that. It's the fact that, let's face it, there are people in the world of other religions, and let's call a spade, Islamic terrorists who hate the Jews and want them wiped out, period, okay? And it's changed everything about Western civilization, which is really interesting because the balance of power has changed because of that. I met a guy at the National Religious Broadcasters meeting, an NRB meeting in Nashville. And I'm riding from the cheap hotel over to the expensive hotel, in the van, right? And this guy turns around and he says, I wish I'd known about you people 20 years ago. And I'm thinking, I don't hear you people much, with my face and where I come from. I said, what do you mean by you people? Evangelical Christians. I said, yeah? What about us? And he said, you are the biggest friends Israel has ever had.
Right.
And I wish I would have known about you 20 years ago.
It's true.
And it's just astonishing, but true.
It is absolutely true. And look what this president's done for Israel.
Oh my God! Did you see the scene of the 4th of July in Israel?
No. What?
American flags. They celebrated the 4th of July for the first time in Israel's history. They had parades with the flags.
Yeah, you've got signs all over Israel now. You got Trump Square. The Golan Heights. And I was in Israel. It's now been about 3 or 4 years the last time I was there.
Yeah.
And when you go to Israel, don't just do the bucket tour. Do the whole country.
Yeah.
Okay, and you need to go up to the Golan Heights and we went up to the very, very tip of the corner of Lebanon and Syria. So we were standing on this hillside, and this man who's running a kibbutz is a Zionist from Cleveland. He moved to Israel in the 1960s. He's an old guy. He's in his 70s. He's got the long beard, and he's running a kibbutz. And there's IDF forces that are walking around with their M16s and their Uzis. And I said, why do you have so many guys that are armed here? He says, I've killed 28 terrorists that have come over the fence. There literally is a fence from Lebanon, which is owned and run by Hezbollah. Okay? Wow. Lebanon was a beautiful country.
Yeah, it was.
35, 40 years ago.
Cedars of Lebanon. Beautiful.
Now it is run by the Sunnis and the Shiites, depending upon which part of the country. So in the south, you've got Hezbollah, terrorist group.
Right.
And they run everything.
Wow.
And they send their fighters over into this kibbutz, which is on a hill, and then to the right, you've got Syria. So I'm standing there, I'm looking into Syria on my right, and I'm looking down into Hezbollah on my left, and here's a man, and he's a Zionist, and I said, what do you mean you've killed 28? He says, yeah. He says, I don't want war with anybody, but if they're going to attack me, I'll kill them dead.
First. Yeah.
They want to attack my family, they want to take my country, I'll kill them dead. And that's Israel in a microcosm.
Yes.
Israel doesn't want war. But you send missiles over from the Gaza Strip or the West Bank into Jerusalem,
right?
They'll kill you.
Yeah.
And the reason they do that is because they have to.
Yeah. They know it's the only thing.
They have to.
Yeah.
Because it's a tiny. I met with a rabbi there. We went into the West Bank. And when I do the tours of Israel, I go to these places.
Yeah.
And so he was telling me, he says, think of Israel as a matchbox.
Okay.
And take that matchbox and put it on a football field with 100 yards at the 1 yard line. Right. And then go up to the top of the stadium and look down and see how small Israel is. The rest of the football field is the Middle East, and the Islamists, not good Muslims. Yeah. There is a difference. We have to understand that. Yeah. Okay, but the Islamists, the Iranian mullahs.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, Hezbollah, Hamas,
right,
who Ilhan Omar supports.
Right.
All right, and this matchbox on this football field is surrounded by this, and all they want, Iran, everybody else, is to push her out to sea.
Yeah, kill everybody.
What options do you have?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and yet let's go back to the point that you made that I wanted to come back to, which is why are only 30% of the American Jews?
It's my biggest frustration in the world.
Why are they Democrats? I don't understand what these have done for them. It's got to be a historical thing.
I think there's two reasons. Okay, number one, there's in the Talmud, the Torah. Okay,
right.
There is a phrase called Tikkun Olam, Tikkunolam, Tikkun Olam. You can Wikipedia it. All right. Basically, what it is that this is from the Torah, and that is that we are here to help the underdog.
Okay.
Okay. Very noble. All right, we all want to help those that can't help themselves.
Right.
Okay, and so there's an American interpretation of this, American Jewish interpretation of this, that means that we have to help those that are down and out. And who has been branded, not that it is necessarily true, okay, as helping the down and out, but Democrats.
Right.
The war on poverty. Okay, the Great Society. Now we can discuss the successes or the failures of those programs, which I believe are failures.
Yeah, right,
okay, the Great Society's ripped apart the black family in urban cities all across the country, and war on poverty, war on drugs, all of this. But it stems from that. It's the Democrats want to help the underdogs, and we grew up listening and hearing that the Republicans are the party of the rich.
Country clubs.
Right, country club Republicans.
Yeah, right.
So there's that perception.
Right, yeah.
Okay? And then there's the other perception that you talked about the Nazi Socialist Party.
Right, yeah.
Okay, the Nazis. And let's get back to America here. We know as right of center conservatives, libertarian, Republicans, we know the true history of slavery in this country.
Right, yeah.
Okay, who pushed slavery in this country? It was the Democrats.
Yeah, the Dixiecrats, right?
Okay,
yeah.
Who fought against the civil rights bills?
Yeah.
It was the Democrats.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's, they'll say, well, it switched. No, there was no switch. There was no switch. It never happened. Robert KKK Byrd, he was the Glenn Kliegel of the KKK. He served until, 10, 12 years ago before he passed away?
Yeah,
There's statues all over Charleston, Virginia. So the Jews look at that and they say, well, Jewish Americans look at that and they say, well, they're the Nazis. Okay, it's the Republicans that are racists, because that's what they've been told. Again, it's the 30-second sound bites at the end of your busy day.
Yeah.
It's the low information voters.
Yeah.
Okay? And so we have to educate people, and that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do.
Yeah, you do.
Have these long-form discussions so that hopefully you get a couple, 3 people that would be like, God, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And you do that again and again and again. Yeah. That's how you change our culture and our country.
Yeah. And it's like, Martin Luther King, Republican.
Yeah.
Right. Did you see the?
Well, yes and no. There was, but where is judge a man by the content of his character, not the color of his skin?
Where is
today?
That? Yeah, that's right.
Where is that?
It's all
today.
About identity.
Squad. Where is that? Why isn't anybody in the media asking that?
Yeah.
That I can't.
They're not on this team.
I can't criticize a woman of color. Yeah. Wait a minute. I'm criticizing your policies and your ideas.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're black or white or green or brown. I don't care what your sexuality is.
Yeah.
I don't care. And so it's branding. And the left are very, very good at branding.
Yes,
they own Hollywood. They own culture. They own the institutions.
Yeah.
The long march through the institutions.
Right.
They own it all. Our academia.
Oh, gosh.
It's incredible. It's still a relatively 50-50 country when you think about it.
After all of that. Yeah. When you think about when I was in college and all the radical weirdos that were for McGovern when I was around, right? became college professors.
Yeah.
And they're just aging out now.
Went into academia.
Yeah, 40 years later, 50 years later.
If they're not going to fight, if you're not going to go to Vietnam,
right,
you go to the Ivory Towers.
That's right.
But it started 25 years before that.
Yeah, I know.
The Frankfurt School, I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So it's the long march through the institutions.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing the fruit of that.
Yeah.
Where a good friend of mine, and I've had her on my show, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. She just went on Huckabee's show on TBN. Dr. Karen Sigmund.
I don't know her.
Dr. Karen Sigmund, and folks, check it out. Look for the interview with her. Dr. Karen Sigmund was a teacher of 25 years. The last 4 years, she was a teacher at a private Catholic school in Los Angeles called Lycée Français de Los Angeles.
Okay.
It's a French school.
Right.
Okay? She's got 2 PhDs, brilliant, Dartmouth professor, brilliant woman.
Right.
She runs a group called the American Freedom Alliance. American Freedom Alliance has 2 times a year, speakers come. They have 200-300 people that pay to come and hear speakers. Victor Davis Hanson, people like that as well.
Right, yeah.
David Horowitz was just there.
Oh, okay.
Brent Bozell, a whole bunch of people. Bill Whittle. And she was promoting the AFA. She never talks about her politics in school.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Okay, now this is a school that allows teachers to wear resist t-shirts.
Right, yeah.
It's Los Angeles Academia.
Right, yeah.
Whether it was a teacher or a parent, somebody complained to Lycée Français de Los Angeles. They saw Karen Sigmund's piece about the long march through the institutions.
Right.
Her organization, American Freedom Alliance, was labeled as a hate group by the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which they'll brand us.
Yeah, that's right.
Just this discussion right here is hatred.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay?
Yeah, we're on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hope anyway.
She was let go.
Wow.
Not for an infraction at school, nothing she taught in school, but because of her opinions, and this is in writing, outside of school.
Yeah.
So they don't
I hope
even.
She sued him. Did she?
Well,
sue him?
she is.
Yeah.
She is. She's got what's the name of this very famous attorney? She's been anyway. I forget. But she is. I don't know how far it's going to go. But the fact is that, and I wrote an article about it on Ricochet. Even a school like that, which is 99% liberal professors and academics,
Sure. Yeah.
they don't want one conservative voice.
None.
Without being a voice, she wasn't even a voice.
Because she wasn't talking about it in
She was
school.
fired for being a conservative outside of school.
Right.
This is our academia today. Dale, what are we doing?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. The hour has raced by, my friend.
Yes.
And I'm really glad you solved all of America's problems. That's going to be the promo, by the way.
One thing.
Just one thing. Plastics, okay? Forget the oceans.
The search for Curly's gold.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Dale.
I enjoyed it.
It was
What
a
a great
pleasure.
guy.
Thank
Dave
you.
Sussman. Look for him. He's everywhere. He's almost everywhere. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you, and walk with him.
Las Vegas Tonight presents an extraordinary depiction of Las Vegas as a city of transformation, from Sin City to Vegas Saints. Las Vegas Tonight, from Sin City to Vegas Saints, a collection of true stories of transformation, people whose lives were transformed, and people who are now transforming the world. You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with Dale Davidson. Send your tax-deductible gifts to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. Or call 702-480-3989. Thanks for watching.